How to forgive an abuser. All of us, at some point, have been hurt badly by someone important, so much that there is no conceivable way we would ever be able to forgive that person. If you've never been hurt, lucky you. Even if the crime against you has been so heinous that you don't even know where to start or even want to consider forgiveness, or if you think forgiveness is just a way of letting him or her get away with it, you might be right. Every situation is different, and so are people involved in that particular situation. Forgiveness is definitely not easy, but no matter how severely you have been hurt, being able to absolve definitely brings a healing balm to your own woundedness, no matter how it affects your abuser. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. How you doing today? I hope you are doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous, if you were to ask me. I want to talk to you today about a very important topic: how to forgive an abuser. But before I get into the nitty gritty, if you are doing as great as I am, go grab a cup of coffee or tea or vodka and let's roll. So let's get to the point. How to forgive an abuser. Before we talk about the process that leads to forgiveness, let's get a few facts about forgiveness straight. Forgiveness is not a statement that the crime was not that bad. You're not saying, listen, by forgiving, you're not acknowledging that the crime was petty, the crime was little, was minor, insignificant. No. Forgiveness is not the same as reconciliation. You don't have to reconcile with someone you forgive. You don't have to say, now we're buddies and we just go, starting as if nothing happened, as if, life, it was all kumbaya. No. Forgiveness is not something you have to feel like doing in order to do. What I'm trying to say here is that forgiveness is an aim in itself. It's also a means to an end. It's not like you have to feel like, oh, this is on my to-do list and I basically have to do it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to check it off my to-do list. No, it's not something you have to feel like doing in order to do. Forgiveness is not a step you take in order to avoid feeling the impact of the damage. You're not trying to forgive someone simply because you don't want to feel how hard it is. The pain is there. The hurt has already been done. Forgiveness is not lip service. This is so great. Forgiveness is not you trying to make false promises or trying to be hypocritical in the process and trying just to say, you know what, I forgive you, but deep inside you haven't. No, it is not lip service. Forgiveness is not something anyone can force upon you. If you don't want to forgive, that's fine. Of course, the goal of this show is to show you that forgiveness will bring more benefits to you than not forgiving. But nobody can force you to forgive something. When you are ready, and if you are ready, you can forgive. Forgiveness is not the same thing as forgetting. A lot of people just mix that up. Of course, yeah, those two start with forg, but forgiveness and forgetting are totally two different things. You may never forget what happened to you. Just because you forgive someone doesn't mean you gain amnesia automatically. So don't really think that, oh yeah, if I ever forgive him or her, that means that that means that he or she thinks I forgot. No, the memory will be there. The pain will be there. The pain might disappear after a while, but the memory will be there. So forgiveness, and that's the one last thing I want to say about forgiveness here. Forgiveness has nothing to do with fairness. A lot of folks think that, oh, well, if I forgive you or if I forgive him, it's probably because it's fair. No, fairness is an entire different quality, an entire different element here. And forgiveness is just not related. Those two concepts are not correlated. All right. So I just wanted to give you a few facts about forgiveness to lay the foundation of today's show, so you will understand as we talk about how to forgive an abuser or someone who has been deeply hurtful to you. You're able to look at facts and look at things with a clear eye. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. We are still talking today around how to forgive an abuser, and in the first section of this show, I've given you a few facts about forgiveness. Now, I want to give you a few truths about forgiveness. The first were facts. Now, I want to give you truths, things that many people, millions of people, billions of people over several decades, several centuries have experienced. Now, before I go into the nitty-gritty here, please, if you enjoy the quality and clarity of the content so far, please consider subscribing to our channel and turn on the notification bell so you can be informed in real time whenever we release shows like this one. Also, share this content. There might be somebody somewhere who needs to hear this kind of content, this kind of inspirational and uplifting content. Share this content, please, and also like it. If you have comments, if you have feedback, if you have questions, please leave them in the comment section. We will read them and we will answer you. If the question is pertinent, if the question is relevant to today's topic, we will certainly answer you. Our team reads all questions, and we will certainly be very happy to answer you. Let's talk about forgiveness and the truthfulness. A few truths about forgiveness. Forgiveness brings healing to the person doing the forgiving. This is a truth. This is something that you can experience. This is something that has been proven across history, across generations, across countries. When you forgive, whether it is an abuser or a non-abuser, you are being healed. You start the healing process. Forgiveness is more a decision than a feeling. It's not about, now I feel like I want to forgive. No, it's more about I've decided, I've made the intentional decision. I have reviewed everything, and I'm comfortable that this is the right path for me. This is what I want to follow. This is the life decision for me. I want to forgive this person. No matter how bad, no matter how ugly the crime was, I want to forgive him. Forgiveness is a willingness of the mind and an attitude of the heart. The thing here is that you are deciding in your heart to do all the things that matter. You are deciding to change your heart, but you're deciding first and foremost with your mind. And when the mind and the heart are in tune, the process is just wonderful. It's just amazing. Forgiveness is a process, just as grief is a process, right? Forgiveness doesn't happen overnight. Yeah, of course, you may decide to forgive someone today, but it will probably take a few hours, a few days, a few weeks, a few months, depending upon the severity of the crime. And the same thing as grief, right? Nobody grieves. Nobody just goes through grief over one day. It takes time. It takes a process of trials and errors. It takes elimination. It takes closure. It takes all the elements that go into a normal healing process. So forgiveness is also a process. Forgiveness is a surrendering of your right to have the other person pay for what he or she did to you. What I'm trying to say here is that you are relinquishing, you are abandoning your right for repayment. So somebody hurt you. The person is just there, and they've hurt you badly, very badly. They have abused you, and they're trying now to get away with it. Or they've come to you and say, I apologize to you. Now, what happens next is your own decision. When you decide to forgive, you are in essence abandoning your right to have that abuser pay for what he or she did to you. It is a very difficult yet incredibly uplifting decision. You're saying, listen, all right, you did this. I'm not seeking revenge. I'm letting it go. It is powerful. One of the problems that people have with forgiveness is that they feel this is not fair, to ignore the fact that someone hurt them. People who have been hurt feel a need to advocate for themselves by being angry at the perpetrator for the injustice he or she has committed against them. It feels empowering to hold on to anger. It is scary to lay down one's anger and let go. However, it is the right thing to do. Now, why is forgiveness ultimately necessary for healing? A lot of folks cringed at the idea. They see no benefits in forgiving someone who has wronged them deeply. right? Because you're thinking, oh, wow, nothing is happening here. Nothing is happening. This person did, because we live in a society where it makes sense that when somebody commits a crime, he or she has to pay for it. That's what society tells us. But when you forgive, you are actually relinquishing, you're actually turning upside down the precept, that fundamental precept that says crime, like action, reaction, crime, punishment. But in forgiveness, we are basically pushing that away. Crime, but no punishment. There are many benefits in forgiveness, but the primary one here is freedom. There is an entire, we can cover the spiritual aspects of forgiveness over several shows, but this is not the premise. This is not the purview of today's show. All I want to say is that the primary benefits of forgiveness is the freedom, the ability to work free, your freedom, the person who's been abused, their freedom, not the freedom of the person who is the perpetrator, right? Because if you have been abused and you're able to let go and able to say, listen, this happened already, this is the past, I'm still carrying the wounds here, but going forward, I'm going to chart a new path. It is very powerful, because once you have worked through the steps of healing from abuse, the final frontier involves laying down your right for justice, fairness, and restitution. In a nutshell, forgiveness is giving yourself the gift of freedom, the freedom of letting go. Right? So you're not giving any gift of freedom to the abuser or the perpetrator. You are granting yourself, you are bequeathing upon yourself the gifts and the blessings of freedom. The work here, the ultimate work of forgiveness, is you. You are the object and you are the subject of the whole process. So when you start thinking about forgiveness as an inward process as opposed to an outward process, that's when the real healing starts, and that's when you become powerful and empowered. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Sweetie Kiwi. We're also talking today around how to forgive an abuser. And I was talking to you earlier I was giving you a few facts about forgiveness. And then afterwards, I was giving you a few truths about forgiveness. Let's now talk about a few steps, practical steps you can take today if you've been abused in the past, or if you know people who have been abused and you want to help them forgive. Here are the steps you can take to forgiveness. The first one is you want to face the violation committed against you. So what I'm trying to say is face it as it is. It is a crime. It is a heinous crime. It is something that is hateful, is hurtful. Don't rationalize it away or minimize its impact on your life. Oh yeah, this is just a small thing. No, it's not. It's a biggie. It's a big thing. Acknowledge it. Recognize the impact on your life. So you want to write a list of everything your abuser did to hurt you. So you want to write it down. I'm not talking here about writing it. You don't want to. I'm not saying you have to text it to yourself via your smartphone or email it to you. No, take a pen, piece of paper, and write it down. Write down everything that the person did to you. And you want to look at it squarely in the eyes. You want to look at the hurt, the pain, the consequences, the causes, whatever comes to your mind. Look at it. So that's really the first step. First step, you have to confront the hurt. Confrontation. Of course, this is a confrontation between you and the hurt and the pain. Number 2, feel the emotions surrounding the infraction and its impact on your life. What I'm trying to say here is that once you are able to write down what happened, the situation, and you have to be as clear as possible. You have to be as thorough as possible. Once you are in presence, once you are confronting this pain, feel the emotions. Let yourself go. Is it rage? Is it hatred? Is it shame? Is it humiliation? Is it anger? Is it fear? Whatever it is, write about your feelings. Talk about it. Do you want to scream in your car, in your bathroom, in your bedroom? Do it. Do it. Do you want to just Lie down and just think. Do it. Whatever works for you. You would find ways to get in touch with your feelings regarding the pain, regarding the infraction. So you want to look at your feelings of resentment, resistance, anger regarding the idea of forgiving your abuser as well. What I'm trying to say here is that you can visualize the person and say and be angry at them. You can be pissed at them. You can be mad at them. You can be resentful towards them. That process, this process is part of the healing continuum. It's part of the healing process. Writing is a good way to process your emotions. So is talking or nonviolent physical expression. So you need to find a way to release your emotions in a nonviolent way. Step 3. So once you have faced the violation committed against you and you have let your emotions, you have released your emotions, you need to decide to surrender your right to hold your offender accountable forever. This is not easy, but it is the only path, the only sustainable path. So you have to be able to make that decision. It's one thing to prosecute a criminal and require the offender to face the consequences for his or her crime, which is fair. But it is life-draining to require your abuser to be held accountable by you forever. Think about it. Are you going to hold this person accountable to you for 40 years, 50 years, 20 years, 30 years? You could if you wanted to, right? But the person might not be free. But what about you? You wouldn't be free either. And we're talking here about you. We're talking here about giving you the freedom you deserve to reconstruct, to rebuild your life and move forward in a more powerful and empowering way. So make that decision to surrender your right to hold your abuser accountable forever. The fourth step is to let go. So once you face the infraction committed against you, you felt the emotions surrounded that violation and its impact on your life, and you released your emotion, and then you decided to surrender your right to hold your abuser accountable forever. You gotta let go. So you can just close your eyes, hold your hands open, and let your abuser go. Stop needing him or her to change. You can't change people. You cannot change people. Stop needing others to see. Stop nursing your wounds. Let go. Because one major benefit for your life in forgiveness is that it stops right away, stops automatically the superhighway in your mind of negativity, the self-negative talk, the self-critic, all the area of negative thoughts, the monkey brain. Those things stops right away. Those things stop right away. When you choose to forgive, when you make a clear and objective decision to forgive, you no longer need to rehearse the crimes committed against you over and over in your head. Your perpetrator does not occupy your primary thoughts. He or she is not there. And you know what? He or she does not deserve to be there in the first place. You stop needing to assume the worst about your abuser because you have let it go. That's the key word, let it go. So you give yourself the ability to live free, unchained from the captivity of needing to hold another person accountable forever. Think about all the shackles, all the chains that you will be carrying if you don't forgive, if you don't let go. And if unfortunately the abuse happened in your youth and you were still a young person, that's a lot of years. That's 40 years, that's 50 years, that's 60 years of carrying somebody in your heart who doesn't deserve to be there in the first place. So remember, if there's one thing I want you to remember from this show is that forgiveness is the freedom of letting go. It's not about fairness. It's not about surrendering your right to punish the other person. It's the freedom of letting go. It's the freedom granted to yourself. By forgiving, you are bequeathing upon yourself the blessing of freedom. You are making yourself free. You are the center of this whole equation, and you are the ultimate beneficiary of the forgiveness that you are giving to an abuser. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me today. It was more a monologue, but I hope you learned a lot and you were able to take a few notes. And before I close today's show, I just want to say that it's always great to reach out to a specialist. If you believe that you need help, you need professional help, do not hesitate. We have done research about this subject, and we are able to provide general information, general advice on how things work and how we think you might want to proceed. But everybody's different. So you might want to consult with a specialist if you believe you need help, so that a specialist can take the time to talk to you, to understand your needs, to understand your situation, your history, and be able to help you more appropriately. All right, thank you so much for listening to today's conversation. I was talking to you about how to forgive an abuser, and I will see you next time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.